Some weapons are remembered because they dominated battlefields, others because they symbolize victory or national identity. The Sturmgewehr 44 is remembered for a different reason entirely. It fundamentally changed how infantry combat would be fought, despite failing to change the war in which it appeared. The StG 44 did not win battles. It arrived too late and in too few numbers to alter Germany's fate in the Second World War. Yet its significance lies not in its wartime impact, but in the ideas it proved correct. More than any other infantry weapon of the era, it marked the end of one way of war and the beginning of another. By the late 1930s, most major armies still equipped their soldiers as if they were fighting 19th century wars. Infantry rifles were long, powerful, and optimized for long-range accuracy. Training emphasized marksmanship at distances rarely encountered in actual combat. Experience from World War I and reinforced in early World War II showed that most infantry engagements occurred at short to medium ranges, often under 300 meters. Terrain, smoke, weather, and chaos reduced visibility and compressed distances. Speed and volume of fire mattered more than theoretical maximum range. Germany entered the war with the Karabiner 98K, an excellent bolt-action rifle that was accurate, durable, and well-made. But it was slow-firing and poorly suited to sudden close-range encounters. German doctrine compensated by centering the infantry squad around machine guns, with riflemen in supporting roles. This system worked, but it placed enormous pressure on machine gun crews and limited the flexibility of individual soldiers. As the war expanded, especially on the Eastern Front, the limitations of this approach became increasingly clear. If bolt-action rifles were too slow, submachine guns seemed like the logical solution. Germany already fielded the MP-38 and MP-40, compact and controllable weapons ideal for close combat. Submachine guns fired pistol-caliber ammunition, which lacked range and penetration. Beyond roughly 100 to 150 meters, their effectiveness dropped sharply. They were excellent assault weapons, but poor general-purpose infantry arms. Issuing submachine guns universally would have sacrificed reach and versatility, an unacceptable trade-off for conventional warfare. Germany did not need a replacement for rifles or submachine guns. It needed something that bridged the gap between them. The true breakthrough behind the StG 44 was not the rifle itself, but the ammunition it fired. German engineers recognized that full-power rifle cartridges were excessive for most infantry combat. They generated heavy recoil, limited controllable automatic fire, and added unnecessary weight to a soldier's load. The solution was the 7.92 by 33 mm Kurz cartridge, shorter, lighter, and less powerful than the standard 7.92 by 57 mm Mauser round, but far more practical for real-world engagements. This intermediate cartridge offered reduced recoil, effective range suited to typical combat distances, improved controllability, lighter ammunition, allowing soldiers to carry more rounds. Once this cartridge existed, a new type of infantry weapon became inevitable. The StG 44 was not constrained by tradition. Its design reflected battlefield experience rather than inherited doctrine. It combined features that had never before been unified in a standard-issue infantry weapon. A detachable 30-round magazine select fire capability, allowing both semi-automatic and automatic fire, a pistol grip for control, a straight-line stock to manage recoil, a barrel length optimized for realistic engagement ranges. The rifle was neither a traditional rifle nor a submachine gun. It was something new, a weapon designed to give individual soldiers flexibility across a wide range of combat scenarios. Even its heavy use of stamped steel reflected wartime reality. Speed of production mattered more than refinement, and the StG 44 was built to be manufactured under extreme conditions. Ironically, one of the greatest obstacles to the StG 44 was internal opposition. Adolf Hitler initially rejected new rifle programs, believing existing weapons were sufficient and wary of disrupting production. To bypass this resistance, the rifle was temporarily classified as a submachine gun under the designations MP-43 and MP-44. Only after personal demonstrations in 1944 did Hitler approve the weapon and rename it Sturmgewehr, meaning assault rifle. By then, however, the war had turned decisively against Germany. The delay proved fatal to the rifle's strategic impact. Where the StG 44 reached frontline units, it performed as intended. Soldiers armed with it found themselves better equipped for close quarters fighting, forest and urban combat, defensive engagements requiring rapid response. Compared to bolt-action rifles, the StG 44 offered superior fire volume and faster engagement. Compared to submachine guns, it provided far greater range and penetration. German troops often preferred it to both, yet these advantages remained local. Production numbers were limited, ammunition supply inconsistent, and training time short. Germany's logistics system was already collapsing under Allied pressure. The StG 44 was effective, but it could not compensate for strategic defeat. Because it did not change the war's outcome, the StG 44 is sometimes dismissed as an overhyped late war experiment. This interpretation misunderstands its importance. Weapons succeed or fail within larger systems of industry, doctrine, and logistics. The StG 44 failed strategically because it arrived when Germany no longer had the capacity to exploit it, not because the concept was flawed. Another persistent myth claims the StG 44 directly inspired later rifles such as the AK-47. Mechanically, this is incorrect. The two weapons use different operating systems. Conceptually, however, the influence is undeniable. The StG 44 proved that. Intermediate cartridges were ideal for infantry. Select fire rifles were practical for general issue. High-capacity magazines were essential. Individual soldiers could carry meaningful firepower. Every modern assault rifle follows these principles. The quiet post-war confirmation. After World War II, armies around the world abandoned full-power infantry rifles. Bolt-action rifles disappeared from frontline service. Intermediate caliber weapons became standard. Select fire rifles replaced both traditional rifles and submachine guns. This shift was not ideological, it was empirical. The StG 44 did not create this trend, but it validated it decisively. It forced militaries to accept conclusions already drawn by battlefield experience. A weapon without a nation. One of the most striking aspects of the StG 44 is that its legacy belongs to no single country. Germany lost the war. The rifle disappeared from service. Its factories were dismantled, yet its ideas survived everywhere. The StG 44 stands as a rare example of a weapon from a defeated power permanently shaping global military doctrine, not through victory, but through logic. Conclusion: the end of an era. The Sturmgewehr 44 did not win battles, and it did not save Germany. What it did was far more important. It marked the moment when infantry warfare finally aligned with reality. Behind it lies the era of long rifles and theoretical engagement ranges. Ahead of it lies the modern battlefield, where speed, control, and adaptability define survival. The StG-44 mattered not because it succeeded in its own time, but because it made the future unavoidable. And in doing so, it quietly ended one age of warfare and began another.